So she's asking, how do you pay for the wedding? Here's what society will tell you that you have to do.
The different ways that you can look at paying for your wedding: you can take out a loan, you can open up a credit card.
A lot of the reason why wedding culture is out of control is because of social media and social media influencers and celebrities. People are seeing things online and thinking, I want that for my wedding. If you're curious, I literally got married in my apartment. My actual wedding ring is $10, but does it mean less? No. It's too much junk. This is ridiculous. I don't really want to live in a society where that's the norm, where you can walk all over everybody because it's your wedding day. No, that's not right. Sorry. Now guys, this one might get a little bit uncomfortable, but something needs to be said. And I'm willing to fall on my sword and be the martyr here. I'm just gonna say it. Well, folks, it's officially wedding season, and I'm here to say I object. Yeah, here comes the bitch. Because if you ask me, wedding culture has gotten completely out of control, and I think it's about time that somebody said something. So yes, I have a lot of opinions about weddings. And when I say wedding culture is out of control, this does not mean that I hate weddings or I hate people that have big weddings. That is not the case at all. What I really hate is the wedding industry. I feel that the wedding industry takes advantage of people who feel pressure from society and what social media tells them about weddings and what an ideal wedding should look like, and it causes those people to make financial decisions that they normally would not make. And people are spending money that they don't have in order to achieve the dream wedding. I don't like that, and I only see this problem getting worse. So one of my main objectives from this video is to hopefully make people feel comfortable with having a wedding that's maybe outside of the norm of what you see on social media and online. Hopefully people will understand that what you see online is not normal, and people are overextending themselves in a lot of situations, taking out loans, opening up credit cards, putting unnecessary pressure on themselves. A lot of this financial burden of these huge lavish weddings is now being placed onto the bridal party. It's being placed onto friends, family, the guests who are attending the wedding, and I don't think that it's right. I think the wedding industry needs a reality check, and it may be time to dial some things back. So anyway, if you do enjoy this video and you enjoy videos like this, hopefully intelligent conversations like this, then please subscribe and leave a like. So when we talk about how wedding culture has gotten way out of control, I think the logical place to start is with wedding costs. It's so difficult sometimes to find how much is something actually costing. And something that cost maybe $5,000 for a venue a couple years ago now costs $20,000. And there are wedding websites like The Knot, for example, that does kind of give you some information about how much something costs. A lot of time that's still not accurate. So in an effort to combat some of the rising prices of weddings, people have now started to do videos talking about wedding cost transparency, and things are bad, people. They're bad.
How much my wedding cost and the things that I regret spending money on. When I originally went into wedding planning, I thought that I was going to get away with spending about 40K. Ended up spending about 70K with the venue, outfits, everything. You may say, okay, like that's decent. Like for Americans, I feel like spending 6 figures on your wedding is not crazy, which like I think that is absolutely insane that that's become the standard.
I'm just gonna be completely honest from the jump. Take my opinions with a grain of salt as we go through this video, because I am someone who on a fundamental level does not understand spending a lot for a wedding. Okay, I'm just not somebody that was not my journey. That was not something that I wanted to spend money on at all. So know that as we continue, know that, okay? You may be somebody that it does make sense for you, okay? But when I hear even 40K, I go, what are we talking about? Okay, what are we talking about? That seems crazy to me, crazy. And then this person said, I went into it thinking I was gonna spend 40K, and then I ended up spending 70K. And we have people saying out loud, now it's the standard to spend over 6 figures on your wedding. Never heard of this before in my life. That's nuts. So some of the comments, spending 6 figures is indeed crazy for most Americans. One of the main points that I'm going to be making throughout this video is that people's perceptions of money is warped in relation to weddings. And that is the wedding industry, okay? And that is also social media influence and like this culture surrounding weddings right now, where people are influenced into thinking, oh, this is totally normal to spend 6 figures on my wedding on one day of your life. One day. No. And we have to fight back against this because this is crazy. In the US, full transparency, the minimum is going to be $45,000 and above as an experienced event designer. That's a luxe wedding category. I mean, what?
Wedding cost transparency. Let's get into it. So it took a lot for me to even muster up the courage to make this video, because a lot of the times I even find myself thinking, you're paying how much? For what? But I saw some other comments from other girls in other videos about how much they're paying for their wedding, and I don't feel as guilty anymore, so let's go.
See, this is the other problem. This is how social media warps your brain, especially surrounding weddings, is, you know, oh, somebody else spent $100,000, so it's okay for me to spend $100,000. Like, I don't feel as bad, you know, and if we're all in this together type of thing, it's like, no, none of us should be in this situation at all. Let me be very clear. One day of your life should not cost this much. It's crazy. And I also think it's probably not a great sign if you're having to muster up the courage to tell people how much your wedding costs.
Here's what I'm spending on my major vendors for my June 2025 wedding in Southern California for a guest count of 200. Venue, food, and bar, these are all lumped together. $46,000 for that. Planner, about...
Just for the venue... Food and bar. I mean, food and bar, but see what I'm saying? Like even I'm going, all right, I mean, food and bar. No, we're talking about damn near $50,000.
$3,000. Photographer, $5,600. Videographer, $4,800. Content creator, $850.
Content creator. Who's the scamming content creator that got $850 for this wedding? I mean, what are they doing exactly?
Right now, about $11,700. DJ, MC, $4,000. Photo booth, $1,250.
And this is somebody who's outside. Don't work in the wedding industry. Fundamentally, I don't understand weddings. These seem like arbitrary numbers. Okay, these are people who are just like throwing a number out there, no rhyme or reason. It's the Wild West. There's no capping these people. There's no putting these people in check. There's no universal standard for, okay, this is what something should reasonably cost. And it's just getting every year going up and up and up. There's a problem happening.
Makeup, $3,500. Remember those minimums that I talked about in my other video? Yeah, got me there. Miscellaneous rentals, so like lighting, dance floor, upgraded chairs, upgraded bar, etc.
Upgraded chairs, what?
About $7,000. Okay, so that was just for my major vendors. If you add in how much I spent on my dress, alterations, bridal accessories, how much my fiance spent on his tux, all of the other little things that go into planning a wedding, all in, we are going to end up spending $90,000 to $100,000.
A single day of our lives we're spending this much money on. $90,000 to $100,000. It seems insane to me.
Please be kind to me.
Something people don't tell you about weddings is that when you look up this on Google, it says $30K for an average wedding in Texas. I asked for quotes this past weekend. Girl, I literally thought I wanted an average wedding. I didn't want anything crazy. I wanted something simple. I like minimalism. Minimalism is expensive.
The average wedding is $30,000. What? That's a lot of people's yearly salary, 1 year of their entire life. Why are we doing it?
Like,
I got married in November and our wedding ended up being around $40,000.
Hold on a minute. So how my low cost wedding still ended up being $40,000. So apparently a $40,000 wedding is low cost. What world do we live in? And honestly, I know we would find a lot of people that agree with that saying, yeah, that's a bare bones wedding.
Even after every budget cut I could think of and months of searching for low budget vendors. When people hear that, they raise a lot of concern because they think there's no way that a wedding that I tried to save on could cost about $40,000. If you've been to a traditional wedding within the past couple of years where there is food, alcohol, a venue, a reception, and a good amount of people, they were all weddings probably around this price or more.
It should not cost that much to have a traditional wedding, in my opinion. For some reason, we're all accepting this as this is normal. If you want to have these things, you have to spend this much. That's not the case, okay? If you want to have a party, if you want to have an event, if you want to have a DJ, you want to have that, it's going to cost you $40,000.
So I'm just genuinely curious, as someone who is in the process of planning a wedding, in the very early process, how do people pay for weddings? Are we supposed to just like drain every single penny we have to pay for this? It's not like we want something super extravagant, but we also don't want a destination wedding, and I'm not really sure how people pay for this.
See, this is what's crazy to me. We're asking questions like, how do I pay for this? Am I draining every single cent that I have? No. The answer is no. The answer is you shouldn't. What I want to encourage people to do is to do things within their means. You know, and if weddings are costing this much, then don't give this greedy industry any more of your money, because honestly the truth is that if you have a small intimate ceremony, or you elope, or you do something along those lines, you're going to be just as happy. And guess what? You're still married. It means just as much, and you didn't wipe out your entire savings. If we're asking questions like that, it's a problem. And I'm not saying it's a problem with these people, I'm saying it's a problem with the industry and our society that's causing people to think that this is what they have to do. I have to wipe out my savings for a wedding. No. So she's asking, how do you pay for the wedding? And here's what society will tell you that you have to do.
The different ways that you can look at paying for your wedding: you can take out a loan, you can open up a credit card.
Take out a loan or open a credit card. That translates to spend money I don't have on one day of my life. Let's go into my marriage with debt. This is maybe the worst advice you could possibly give.
One of my favorite suggestions to couples, and I don't know how many actually take this up, but it is picking up a second job. If you do not want to go into marriage with additional debt, go get a part-time job as a barista at Starbucks. Go do DoorDash, go do Uber Eats.
This is capitalism, by the way. Capitalism at its best.
Go donate plasma. Plasma pays a lot. Did you donate
Have you ever
plasma?
done that?
Yes, I've donated plasma.
I've thought about it when I was like super broke. And then I was like, wait, I don't know if this is, not that it's not legitimate, but I was like, oh my God, am I really going to do this? But
yes, I've donated plasma.
I'm here for it.
It's not for the weak. It is.
Because don't you have to be there like for a long time? Or how long?
The first time, it's a forever process because
We live in dystopian hell. Donate plasma, guys, to afford a day of your life. You're donating plasma.
you have to go through all these health checks.
Oh, right.
After that, it's like in and out. It maybe takes 40 minutes. It depends. As long as you're hydrated, your blood will pump faster. If you're not hydrated, you will feel like absolute garbage.
Oh,
so,
I bet.
Yes, I've donated plasma. It pays very well. I do not currently, it's been a long time since I've donated plasma, but that is a great, easy option.
Easy option. We're in hell. If this right here is not the biggest wake-up call to you that the wedding industry is getting completely out of control, this is my point, okay? At what point does this stop? At what point does it go, okay, I'm going to donate my kidney? Guys, there has to be a line. And look, donating blood and plasma and things, like, it's a good thing. I mean, they obviously are using it for a good reason. But what? Ask yourself, am I doing things that I wouldn't normally do or that I don't want to do? Okay, or that make me uncomfortable in order to afford my wedding? And if the answer is yes, strongly reconsider the wedding that you are throwing. This is crazy town.
As long as your health provider approves it.
Yeah.
We are not medical experts.
Exactly.
We are not telling everybody to go donate plasma.
Here's some comments. The first two things you suggested are the worst things you could possibly do to start out a marriage. Or the wedding industry could just be more affordable. That's true. Never go into debt for a wedding. Great advice, first of all. But also think about how many people who are. And those people were pressured into doing it, or they signed up, like a lot of the women that were talking before, and said, look, I thought I was going to be spending X amount of dollars. And then once you're into the cycle of, all right, I'm booked with the venue, they basically hold you hostage. And they're like, all right, well, you have to also pay $7,000 for the chairs. And there's all these hidden costs. And it's like, you can't get out. You sign the contract. It's gross. It's very gross. Okay, so you might think you're spending within your budget, and then it turns out to be not that way because you are forced to spend the money. Elope, hire a photographer, and have a dinner with 20 people, $3K and done. But social media doesn't tell you that eloping is the cool thing to do. It tells you got to have 100 million people, and if you want to, then that's fine. But make sure that it's really you that wants to do it, because I've talked to a handful of people, and yes, it's anecdotal, but I have talked to so many people who are like, you know what? If I could do it all over again, I would just go elope. Like, I personally didn't want to have this huge wedding. My parents were the ones that forced us to do it or like pushed us to do this. That wasn't what I wanted. You know, we have to think about, what do I want, right? What's going to be best for me and my marriage, more importantly. And taking out a loan, opening a credit card, no. Or have a wedding you can afford. That's what budgets are for. Picking up a second job for a one-day party is crazy. I'm sorry. Yep. Thank you. We have to start just doing reality checks, or just don't glorify your wedding like it's the most life-altering event you'll ever experience. Yeah, exactly. Going into debt for a wedding is literally the worst advice. Do not do that. If you can't afford to pay for a huge wedding without a loan, elope, save up, and have a small wedding. Exactly. If you can't afford to have a huge wedding, maybe don't have the wedding. Brainwash society. Exactly.
I have a warped perception of what is a lot of money and what isn't because of wedding planning. I caught myself looking at an invoice yesterday and I said to my fiance, oh, it's only an extra $500. I think it's worth it. Never in my life have I looked at something and gone, oh, it's an extra $500. I think we should do it. There's no discount codes. $1,000, that's a steal. I think it's worth it in the end.
I appreciate this perspective a lot, and I appreciate people who are in the wedding process and they're honest about the way that it is right now. You know, you guys are sending up the signal flares. We're letting the rest of us know what's really going on. It's a problem. You know, this is totally on track with what I suspect about the wedding industry, which is, yeah, it does warp your perception of money and how much you're actually spending. And in no other circumstance would you be spending money like that and be like, yeah, oh yeah, run it up, you know, oh yeah, like $500 here, $1,000 here. If you want a wedding, it's going to cost you $40,000. Like, think about it. Would that make sense for anything else? No.
Same way. So you know, like you and me if I put a dress on and I'm like, I am not leaving without this thing, I will figure out how to afford the dress.
This is what I'm talking about, where it's like people are not thinking straight. Okay, when it comes to their weddings. I think that we're building up the day so much in our heads and we're placing so much importance on it because that's what we've been told. And we want to have the perfect pictures for social media and we want to look our very, very best. It needs to be everything that I've been planning since I was in middle school on Pinterest. And it's just, the reality is it's not that way. You don't have to do it. Things are getting out of hand.
Say it with me, spending $40,000 on a wedding is a choice. And if it's a choice you want to make, that's okay, but it's not a choice you have to make. Now, before you get in the comments and get really angry at me saying you can't even book a venue for less than $10,000, let alone food and a photographer for anything under $20,000 total, that's correct if you are only looking at options that are branded specifically for weddings.
You know, I think that now they're up to this price. They're not going back down. The train's off the tracks. It's out of control.
And I think that that's indicative of the actual problem that we're facing here, which is that our society has lost the plot around what a wedding is and the point of it. The point of a wedding is to celebrate two people coming together and joining their lives, right? It's actually not to throw the biggest, most expensive, most lavish party that looks the best on social media. That's actually not the point of the wedding.
Well, people weren't happy about that video, even though to me, there was nothing that was said that was even mildly polarizing at all. Here's one of the comments. If you got married before 2024, I don't want to hear a single thing you have to say about wedding budgets. And she comments back, I work in the industry. This comment reeks of, I'm trying to rationalize why I'm spending it so much on my wedding. Because the truth is that $40,000 is a choice and you don't have to choose to spend that much money on your wedding. I think in this situation for this person, Rachel, the truth hurts. And I think that when you are spending so much on your wedding, you're going to look to rationalize it any way that you can. And anyone that's saying, oh, you shouldn't spend this much on your wedding, you don't need to spend that much on your wedding, is like an attack on you. You can see that come out in this very passive aggressive comment. Here's another comment. The way a $40,000 wedding is quite literally bare bones. So $40,000 is bare bones now. I don't even know how to explain how privileged of a comment that is. Like, do people hear themselves when they talk? I need to know. 40K is like baseline cheap wedding in my area. LOL. Baseline cheap. This is where I say we need a reality check. If we think that that's cheap. If we're saying cheap next to $40,000, okay, which is, once again, a lot of people's yearly salary. Please be quiet. We had a budget of $40,000 and spent about $60,000 and had to cut a lot out. I think it's ridiculous that we tell brides to lower their expectations rather than fight for reasonable prices for venues, food, or etc. If you know that these prices are corrupt Why are you paying them? Take a stand. Like, we need to take a stand, people. You're under spells, people. If you're not getting what your money's worth anymore, then why are we paying into this industry? That's my point. We have to be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go do anything else. I'm gonna go to Chuck E. Cheese and get married because I'm not gonna give one of my hard-earned dollars to this industry. I'm just not. But I think a lot of the vitriol that I'm seeing in these comments to this person saying a very benign statement, which is spending $40,000 is a choice that you don't have to make, is a very bad sign. If you're one of those brides that's doing that, take a look in the mirror, please, and realize that your anger is misdirected at the wrong person. It should be directed at the wedding industry.
You know, somebody also said, well, what if I don't have the money to pay for a wedding? What if, my parents don't have money and my future in-laws don't really have money and my credit's not that great and I can't, get a loan? Well, then don't do it. Don't have a wedding. You can go to the courthouse, get married, and then just be married. You know that, right?
You know that, right? I mean, look, I don't know if people know that, but I don't blame them because once again, social media and society tells you have to do this even if you don't have the money to do it. You have to find a way. You have to donate plasma, get a second job, and take out a loan if you want to pay for a wedding.
Well, just go elope. It ain't got to be a big thing. You just really want to have an event. That's just the thing. You really want to have an event. And is that really necessary?
Legit, go to a courthouse and do a cookout at home at a cousin's house. So simple. Exactly. Someone said some of the big weddings don't last as long as the courthouse marriages do. Yeah, I have seen studies before that talk about the correlation between having extremely expensive weddings and higher rates of divorce. I have seen that. It is as simple as just go to a courthouse and do a cookout. Just do what makes sense for you and know that that's enough. That's my point. Now, guys, this one might get a little bit uncomfortable, but something needs to be said. And I'm willing to fall on my sword and be the martyr here. I'm just gonna say it. It's too expensive to be a bridesmaid. The financial contribution of being in a bridal party these days has gotten out of control. It is not affordable, okay? Especially for single people who are not offsetting their bills with a partner or a spouse or a significant other. It's just too much. It is too expensive to live for most people to be asking this much of other people. And here's an example of that.
This is exactly how much it cost me to be a bridesmaid for the first time. Versus my dress, it was $190 for the dress itself, plus $120 to tailor it. Now, I probably could have found a cheaper tailor, but tailoring definitely was necessary. And in the future, I'll try and make that a little lower cost if I can.
Unfortunately, getting something like that tailored, that is probably about what you're going to pay. And I think that brides should be aware if they're requiring their bridesmaids to buy dresses or a specific type of dress or whatever. I do think that alterations should be factored into the price as well, because that adds on a huge amount to an already big ask. Asking people to buy a dress that they're only going to wear once for a lot of money is a lot to ask.
Then I didn't already own nude heels, so I spent $120 on some shoes, and I also didn't have a formal dress for the bridal shower and rehearsal dinner, so I bought one for $130 and used it for both days. Then there's the bridal shower and bachelorette expenses. Between gifts, supplies, Ubers throughout, any and all expenses, it looks like I spent about $330 here.
The bridal parties and the bachelorette trips as well, they used to be one day and now they're spanning over multiple days. Like it's an entire weekend, okay? And they're destination trips. And we're all in this luxury hotel and we're all like having to pay for all the events that we're doing as we get to that place. And we're paying for food and drinks and, you got to pay for them the bride's drinks. And it adds up so fast.
Finally, for wedding weekend, we all stayed in the same hotel for 2 nights, which cost $670. And because it was a bit of a drive for Dennis and I, and we don't own a car, we spent $440 renting one for about 3 days. Lastly was hair and makeup. I opted to do both so that I could share that experience with you all on here, so stay tuned for more of an update on that. But it cost me about $270.
$270 for hair and makeup that you're gonna wash off at the end of the night. This is crazy. And then it was $600+ for the hotel? Absolutely not.
For hair, makeup, and a tip. So my total came out to around $2,300. And I want to make it clear that not all of these expenses were expected to me for the wedding, like renting a car, for example, but it is the honest picture of how much I spent.
$2,300 to be in somebody else's wedding. No, it's too much, guys. It's not reasonable anymore. Okay, it's not. So somebody said, honestly, I think some brides' expectations are crazy. Destination bachelor parties, expensive hotel stays, etc. Yes, she replies, some bachelorette trips can get really up there. I spent around $3,500. It's expensive and I'm not planning on doing it again. Yeah, it's like, and you know, the truth is, if you're asked to be a bridesmaid, your first instinct is yes, I want to be there for you on your big day. But this financial expectation to contribute thousands of dollars to a wedding that is not even yours is just like, it's too much at this point. It's just beyond. Most I've spent as a bridesmaid was a little over $3,000. For anyone wondering, this is definitely the average cost of being a bridesmaid. A lot of people are speaking out and saying, yeah, this is basically the average. This is the norm. And I'm here to say it shouldn't be. It's not reasonable to ask your loved ones to spend this much on you. It's not. And I would feel bad if I was making people do this. It's not fair. And the problem at the base of all of this as well is that if you're a bridesmaid, that means you're extremely close to the bride, right? And you're probably not in a position to say, hey, this is too much. Okay, what you're asking of me is not reasonable. So that's why it's important for people like me right now to be like, hey, no, this is not right. We need to be having conversations about this because brides need to know this is too much.
Okay, let's talk about this, because when it comes to being a bridesmaid, no one ever sits you down and says, hey, will you be my bridesmaid? And also, it's gonna cost you $900+ for the bachelorette party. And also, it's gonna cost you $2,000 to attend the wedding. No one says that. Most of the time when you are asked to be in a wedding, the bride or the couple, the maid of honor, they haven't even started planning. So they have no idea whatsoever what things are actually going to cost.
You know, this is the same problem where you're at the mercy of the wedding industry. As a bride, you know, you sign up and you're like, okay, I want to have my wedding here. And then the price just keeps going up. And you don't really know when you're going into it what things are going to cost. And that's not their fault, by the way. Like, to brides, that's not your fault. Like that, it's a wicked, evil industry, in my opinion. But this cost is now being placed onto the bridal party as well, where, you know, they agree, hey, I'll be in your wedding. I love you. I want to support you. I'll be in your wedding. I'm there for you. I want to be there for your big day. And now they're locked in, but then the price goes up. Like, now I got to pay for my dress. Now I got to pay for my shoes. Now I got to pay for a rehearsal dinner dress. I got to get this. I've got to get a bachelorette gift. I have to get a bridal shower gift. I have to get a wedding gift. And I have to pay to be in this wedding. And I'm contributing thousands. It's like, how do you have these conversations with the bride? It's difficult. And similarly for men who are groomsmen, how do you have a conversation with the groom that's not wildly uncomfortable and, you know, lets them know, I'm here for you, but this is too much.
The bachelorette party has not been planned. The bride does not have hair and makeup quotes yet. When you say yes to being a bridesmaid, you are saying yes to the emotion of being in that wedding, but not necessarily the financial element of being in that wedding.
I got kicked out of a former friend's bridal party because I was not able to afford the very expensive bachelorette party, which included bottle service at Tao and very expensive prefix menu at Maple and Ash. The bride never asked any of the girls our budgets, what we were able to spend during this, and she was also having a destination wedding to a very expensive destination. It wasn't until after the Airbnb was booked and paid for that we were told what all of the activities would be.
My point exactly. Illustrated right here. The bride didn't ask what they would feel comfortable spending, what was reasonable for them to spend. The culture around it is, this is my big day, and everybody else is going to have to fall in line, right? And my friends, if you're really there for me, you'll do this. And you're expected to do this. And that's not really a good friend. That's not being considerate of others. That's not being considerate of other people's budgets and their lives. Like, if people are going on this trip with you, they should know what to expect and what they're going to be expected to pay for. It's a collective conversation. It shouldn't just be, hey, show up here and pay for this.
Going all in for the bachelorette would have cost about what my mortgage costs. So I spoke with the bride about my discomfort with spending this much money, and essentially we came to the conclusion that I simply could not afford it. Of course, word came back to me at the bachelorette party that she was talking shit about me, and then she later kicked me out of the bridal party. Anyway.
See, obviously, okay, look. The bride is a bad egg. That's the truth. Most people are probably not like this, but you know, this is the consequence of being like, look, I can't afford this. That's why it's important to have these types of conversations on a macro level, because of things that are happening on the micro level, right? Things that are impacting relationships. People are losing friendships over this kind of stuff. And it's very difficult to pull them aside and say, look, I can't afford this. This is too much, because they're getting kicked out. And once again, we have no one to blame, but the wedding industry is saying this is what you have to do if you're getting married. You have to have the destination wedding. You've got to have bottle service. You've got to have this big wild weekend with expensive dinner and stuff like that. And it's like, no.
Her wedding happened not that long ago, and the tea and the drama and the fallout between the rest of her bridesmaids, I just love being on the right side of history here.
I have a hot take, and it's one that gets me into a lot of trouble, and I'm always hesitant to talk about it, but it's just the way that I feel, okay? Wedding culture is out of control. Wedding culture is out of control. Yes. Like, oh my God. Being on the girl side of things too, it's like your girly pop is getting married and you want to be there and you want to celebrate and you're like, woo, 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 we're doing it. But like the destination parties and the destination bachelorettes, and hold your hand when you say this, I would like to save money to spend it on things that I want to do too.
Yeah, I think this is a good point. Look, I don't want to take away from anyone's big day. That's certainly not what I'm set out to do. I want people to have a great day and celebrate it, you know, but at the same time, like, other people do exist. We do unfortunately live in this individualistic, hedonistic sort of society where it's all about me, me, me. And, you know, I know that it's hard to believe this, but your wedding day is not actually, for most people, the greatest day of their life. Okay, it's a great day. A lot of time it's a fun day. It's fun to be invited, but for them, like, they have a life going on outside of your wedding, right? And they have things that they want to pay for and the things that they want to do. And when it's this expensive to be a bridesmaid, they're not going to be doing those things anytime soon.
Super happy for you, want to celebrate your love, but like, do I have to sacrifice my firstborn to do that? You know?
Unpopular opinion, but here are costs your bridesmaids should not be paying for. I've noticed a lot of brides have this like feeling towards their bridesmaids of like, you should be honored you're here. When in reality, I'm honored you're here.
Uh-oh, she's preaching to the choir right now.
Because you are spending your time and money to celebrate me and my wedding festivities, I'm honored you're here. And because of this, here are things that bridesmaids should not pay for. Number one, we have your dress. If the bride expects you to get a certain color, a certain style, from a certain brand, they should be covering the cost. This is essentially wearing a uniform to their wedding, and anytime you have to wear a uniform at work, they give it to you.
Interesting perspective. Look, I don't totally disagree with this, but I will say, I think most people, myself included, are fine with paying for my dress for your wedding, right? But I do think that what people are asking their bridesmaids to pay is getting a little bit out of control, okay? In my opinion, okay, like, because once again, we're having this conversation to hopefully try to dial things back, to have more transparency around this stuff. I do think that anything over $200 is too much. If you're asking somebody to buy a dress that they're only gonna wear one day, that's a lot of money. And honestly, like, I'm saying $200 because I'm giving some leeway. I really think over $150 is too much. Really, I do. If you consider as well having to get alterations, most likely on these types of dresses, it's in the style that you want, and I'm having to buy this dress, like, I think over $200 is just, you're asking, that's way too much. Additionally, this is my personal opinion, I think that the best case scenario is that you pick the color that you want and then ask your bridesmaids to find a dress that is in their budget, in their style that they like, that fits into your color palette. Okay, because that way they can get something that hopefully they'll likely want to wear again. I think that's the best case scenario. They have all different body types and preferences, and some people might not want their arms showing, so they find a dress that has sleeves. Like, it's just better for everyone. It's the more considerate option, and they can find something that works for them. I think if you can limit the amount of situations where someone feels like they're forced or obligated to do something for your wedding, the better for you, right? They'll be having more fun because they don't feel like they're having to do something and they're having to go outside of what's comfortable for them. I love to know what other people think about that.
Understand that this is not always attainable for most people. If that's the case, give a general theme for your bridesmaids so they're able to pick a dress that matches their personal style and it fits within their budget. So they're able to pick something that they're comfortable wearing and will most likely wear after your wedding as well. And next thing is hair and makeup.
I would also like to extend that as well to shoes. I don't think that you should require bridesmaids to all wear the same type of shoe. They should be able to wear what's comfortable to them. If you want to say no sneakers, that's fine. But like otherwise, let your bridesmaids wear their own damn shoes.
If you are requiring your bridesmaids to get their hair and makeup done, you should cover the cost. Because I am just as comfortable doing my hair and makeup, and I don't need to be spending $300 to get it done for a friend's wedding. And the last thing, I can't even believe I have to say this, is the florals and the bouquets. I heard from a friend of a friend that she asked her bridesmaids to cover the cost of their bouquet. I'm sorry, what? The wedding aesthetic and the florals and all of that is the bride's vision.
No.
To punt the cost of the bouquet that you want them to hold to walk down your aisle for like $100 is absurd.
Yep.
It's giving you should be honored you're here, and honestly, I'd rather not.
Look, she's making a lot of sense to me. That's all I can say. I literally spent $2,000 to be a friend's bridesmaid and she doesn't talk to me anymore. Honestly, I don't think it's a big deal for a bridesmaid to cover their own dress unless it's something overly expensive. Yeah, I think a lot of people would be willing to pay for their own dress and have generally no problem with it. I think that's like the one thing when you know you're going to be asked to be a bridesmaid, that's like the one thing you know you're going to have to pay for or you're expected to pay for, and it's, you know, within reason. But like I said, I really think anything over $200 is too much. I think generally if something is required, you should pay for it. Ooh, interesting comments. Yeah, interesting discussion. I mean, I think the problem is these are kind of conversations that need to be had before the bride decides what the dresses are going to be. I think it needs to be a collective open discussion with the bridesmaids and say, first of all, hey, how much are you willing to spend? And then you go from there. And also, what are you comfortable wearing? I would not want a friend of mine to be wearing something that makes them feel uncomfortable. Unfortunately, a lot of these conversations are not even being had. And it's just like, you must wear this or you're out. I've never had a bride pay for my bridesmaid's dress. That's why I've always dreaded being a bridesmaid, the cost. Yeah.
How much is the bill? 1,430.
POV, you're a bridesmaid, but the expenses are starting to feel like it's your wedding.
Mina, I ordered a salad. I ordered a passion fruit and lemonade. I didn't order Jäger bombs.
You guys have heard the term bridezilla. And I think, unfortunately, the wedding industry and social media is creating a lot of bridezillas. I think the expectation for a lot of people's weddings is getting so great. It's just kind of putting everybody on edge, right? And some people are like, weddings bring out the worst in people. And honestly, yeah, I think that the stakes are getting a little bit too high. It's like, guys, it's just a wedding. Okay, it's one day. We don't need to lose friends over it. We don't need to be acting crazy. We don't need to be losing our minds. But unfortunately, people are. All right, so now we must move on to another out of control aspect of wedding culture, which is the gifts.
Season this year is just a little out of control. This is my first year that I've had multiple weddings of people that we're actually close with. I'm not kidding. I feel like I'm spending at least $1,000 per wedding, and it's ridiculous. It's adding up so fast. One of the biggest things I learned was how much you're supposed to spend on bridal shower gifts and wedding gifts, and it's way higher than I thought. So I was looking all over TikTok, like asking friends like how much do you usually give and what do you do. I always heard the phrase like for a wedding gift you want to like pay for your plate. So you can kind of estimate like $150. I don't really know. So in my mind I was like, okay, wedding gift $150 split between my boyfriend and I. And everyone's like, no, like $300. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And then it's supposed to be like the same price for the bridal shower gift too.
So another thing that I hate about the wedding industry is that they're not only taking advantage of the bride and groom, you know, the people that are having the wedding, but they're also taking advantage of the guests, right? Because they're putting pressure on the people that are attending the wedding to basically prove how much they care about the couple. Now there's like this stigma of you have to pay for your plate. Okay, you have to contribute a certain amount to like pay back for even being there. And you're doing this instead of just contributing what makes sense for you and what makes sense to you financially. Maybe $150, $300 is not in the budget. Therefore, you shouldn't feel forced to have to contribute that much if it's outside of your financial means. You know, you should be able to go to a wedding and enjoy yourself without feeling like you're going beyond what feels comfortable for you and your budget. And that is what the wedding industry is pushing. That's what society's pushing. pushing, and you have this like fear and pressure around it. And a lot of people are just deciding to decline going to weddings because they can't even afford to attend because of this stigma placed on them. The cost of this wedding is now trickling down to everybody else. That's what I don't like. We need to get back to, let's just give what we can afford and feel comfortable in doing that.
So I was like, $600 total is what we're estimating out here? Like with the hotel rooms, flights, outfits, everything else, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And some people do engagement parties too, which we also give another like $50 to $100 then. I'm legitimately terrified for when my friends start getting married too, because I'm gonna go broke.
This is a very real problem that people are experiencing. And, you know, I especially look to people who are in their early 20s and their friends are starting to get married. And, you know, it's not easy to afford to live right now. I thought this was kind of funny. So I think as a nation, we have taken wedding registries too far. Why am I buying a squatty potty for a couple who has lived together for 4 years? And she says, it was the last thing left. Hashtag girl math. I definitely think that things are getting a little out of control. There are some things where it's like, okay, that's not reasonable to ask for, like things that are so exorbitantly expensive. I've seen a lot personally of wedding registries that look like somebody's birthday wish list, okay? Things that are not for both of you, for the couple, like makeup, for example, I've seen on there, and things of that nature. That doesn't seem appropriate to me. A wedding registry used to be couples that were starting off with getting things for their home, and now it's turned into people are putting samurai swords on there. But yeah, I definitely think that it's another thing that's gotten very out of control. I also found this from the subreddit wedding shaming, and with the tag on it that says greedy, my fiance's friend's insane registry. They have a contribute what they wish. Basically, they have $5,000 for their honeymoon, $5,000 for their honeymoon again for a card payment, honeymoon resort fund. So they have $4,000 for that. Flights, $3,000, 2 months of home expenses, $3,000, Delta airline gift cards, hotels.com gift cards, legal fees for their international marriage, Zola gift cards. Then somebody left this comment, said, minus the last item of gift cards, this would be $27,500. What the what? By the way, 2 months of home expenses, haha, yeah, no, the audacity. Asking for nearly $30,000 worth of stuff on your wedding registry is objectively just not, you can't, you shouldn't. Okay, you can technically, because people have done it, but you really shouldn't. It's too much. I don't think we should normalize doing this and asking for this much stuff. I think asking for home expenses, like what?
If you're having a wedding and you have a registry, like you're actively asking people for gifts, you need to have an open bar. You shouldn't have a cash bar and ask people for gifts. And I got called an elitist for saying that in someone's comment section. I mean, call me an elitist if you're asking someone actively for presents and you're not paying for their drink.
So yeah, obviously this is probably somewhat of a hot take. It was not received well in the comments. I don't necessarily agree with this either. I don't think that you should require an open bar. You know, I think that people are experiencing right now something of like wedding fatigue. It's a lot to be a guest of a wedding these days. I think it's a lot more than what it used to be. There's a lot more expectations for you. And I think because of those expectations and obligations and the financial contribution, you're going to get a lot of resentment from people that are attending your wedding. That's why I say it's probably in the best interest if you are, you know, a bride and you're planning a wedding to just try to limit the amount of obligations that you have for your bridal party and for the people attending your wedding, because the resentment like this is manifesting itself where people are like, look, if you're going to even ask me for normal things, right? To have a registry, like that's normal, right? To have a wedding registry and ask for things, like that's a very normal thing to do. Okay. You're allowed to ask for things at your wedding. Like that's the point. It's always been something that people do for many years, but now they're saying, okay, well, you better have an open bar then. You know, people are just getting mad. You know, while I don't agree that you have to have an open bar, I don't agree with that at all. I do empathize with this sentiment of, look, I'm giving up a lot to be here and not getting a whole lot in return, it feels like. So it's getting dicey out there. Okay, people are getting mad and I don't necessarily blame them. Well, it's about that time of the video where I talk overconsumption. I think I do this in every video at this point, but honestly, it's a really important topic when we're talking about why wedding culture is out of control. And a lot of the reason why wedding culture is out of control is because of social media and social media influencers and celebrities. People are seeing things online and thinking, I want that for my wedding. I want that for my bridal party, right? So one of the big things that I've been seeing that's gotten way out of control, I mean, look at this photo. People are thinking that they have to give their bridesmaids so much stuff because they're seeing social media influencers online and celebrities do these huge proposal boxes and will you be my bridesmaid and here's all this stuff and here's my bachelorette party weekend things. And you know, the truth is you don't need to do this. The reality is these people were gifted these things for free, or they have like a lot of money to spend to even accomplish this. It's just a lot of junk, man. It's a lot of junk. A lot of people buying stuff that they don't need. This is not, this is new. As far as I'm concerned, doing all of this ridiculous over-the-top stuff for your bridesmaids.
Unpack my bachelorette goodie bags with me. I'm spoiling my closest girlfriends with the most iconic gifts ever. We've got 10 bags to pack before the girls get here, so let's hop to it. Many of my favorite brands that I've been working with for years wanted to be a part of this special weekend, so thank you to those that helped contribute to spoiling my girls. We've got these adorable matching PJs from Birdie Gray, as well as some fuzzy slippers from them. And Well.ca hooked the girls up. They're on Stanley's, Smart Sweets, Squish Gummies, Bloom Super Belly, Ollie Vitamins, all my favorites. We've got my favorite Laneige lippy for the girls, Tatcha Dewy Cream. Of course, I had to get them on Cicaplast. The iconic Caudalie Beauty Elixir and the Detox Mask. A few of my many faves from e.l.f. The Rare Beauty Liquid Blush and Liquid Luminizer. Vacations After Sun Gel, and of course Liquid IV for every girl. And then Summer Friday Spray, sunscreen, not one but 2 lip butters. I love me some Touchland, and
every overconsumer, Touchland hand sanitizer is at the scene of the crime. Every single time, I'm telling you, every single time.
Into the Nivea body lotion, Nexus anti-humidity spray, and of course the Slick Stick. I bought these cute cozy mugs from Mech, Green the Radiance, Pads the Scrub. You know how much I love Roots, and they gifted every girl a sweater. Then I went to the drugstore and made a little emergency kit. I can't go anywhere without my Tide to Go, my makeup wipes, my Advil, my vitamins, my Juicy Fruit was very nostalgic, and of course the scrunchie. Holy moly. And my
Thank you for my sponsors. She had a whole sponsor sheet. Camp Kate?
Sister hand embroidered all of these totes. It must have taken her weeks. I made sure to hustle to get them all packed, and they were looking amazing.
And guys, come on. It's too much junk. They're not going to probably even use half of that. I think that it's better to just give quality gifts. Things that they'll remember, because the problem with this is they don't remember anything you got them because you got them so much stuff. This is ridiculous. And people see this and they're like, I need that for my friends.
And do you really think I'd leave you out of all of the fun? Stay tuned for tomorrow's video. I have a little surprise.
Remember everyone, most of this was gifted to her as part of a sponsorship, so try not to compare, and it has 8,000 likes. Yeah, reminder, this is really fun, but it's okay if you can't do this much. It's not necessary for a good time. Don't compare yourself to what you see online. But you can read all these disclaimers, but the truth is people are going to see this and they're going to want this, okay? And they're going to feel like they have to do this. That is the world we live in. And that's social media. And I'm here to de-influence you and say, look, you don't need this. You don't need this. You can have a great weekend and a great bachelor trip and just go out to an affordable lunch or dinner with your friends for one night and enjoy it just as much. And it's actually more meaningful to have time together with other people than these material things. Pack my bridal proposal gifts with me. So this was another social media influencer who gets these things for free. And you know, the bag alone is like $78 or something like that. They get these things for free, and they're also making money off the content that they are able to put out, but that's not the reality for most other people. And it's also like, it's way over the top. You don't have to be doing any of this. Like, people will still say yes. Look, this is a base luggage that she's gonna put all of this other stuff in, and she's putting like a robe with custom names on it. I mean, just that alone is probably enough. Like, I don't know when we got to this point of now we gotta do all of these things. I don't wanna discourage people. It's a very nice thing to do, to get gifts for your bridal party, and like gift giving is great. I love it. I don't wanna discourage people from that at all. But it's junk at the same time. Like, a lot of this is junk. It's a lot of stuff that they're not gonna remember. And also understand that this is just content, most likely, okay? It's okay, believe it or not, to just say, hey, will you be my bridesmaid? No gifts. Just ask. It's that simple. This was crazy.
This is how much I spent on all 8 of my bridesmaid proposal boxes. The vinyl was $1 each, the box was $10.87 each, and the tissue paper was $4. The perfume was $208.
$208, and it's engraved with their names on it.
and the engraving was $20 per name. The Briogeo hair treatment was $59.50, and the super serum is $56.99. Elf lip oil is $10.99, and SC nail polish is $10.97.
Why?
The gua sha tools were about $2 each. Rare Beauty blush is $36.
Like, why?
The silk pillowcases were $9 for 2. The sponges were $6 for 4. Hair scrunchies were $12 for 8.
The scrunchies suck. And then bridesmaid cookie, why?
The cookies I got were $5 each. I printed all the paper from Staples and it cost about $30. The Lancome mascara was $45 and the YSL lip gloss is $53.
I mean, it's too much. Okay, so for 8 bridesmaids at around $540 each, give or take $1, you spent $4,320. This is not normal. It's junk. The scrunchies are crap. No one's using that. We're just doing it to be extravagant, and it's going to end up in a landfill. And then there's people like, can I be your bridesmaid? So people see this as aspirational, and it absolutely should not be seen as anything but just wasteful. $4,000 on proposal boxes that are going to be thrown in the trash.
Here's everything I packed in my bridesmaid proposal boxes. I had so much fun putting all these gifts together for my special girls. I have 7 bridesmaids and I got each of them a box with their names engraved on the right corner.
As an added bonus, I got all my girls a Dagny Dover Landon carry-all bag. Do you know how much these are? They're not cheap.
The added bonus, I got all my girls a Dagny Dover Landon carry-all, and I got them the Haze carry-on luggage in the colors nude and blush. I proposed to all my bridesmaids 3 different times in a span of a week.
3 different times in the span of a week. Okay, got it. Makes no sense, people. So anyway, here's some more thoughts.
All right, I might get yelled at for this one, but I feel like the entitlement of wedding culture is just completely out of control. Like, we want to be grown adults choosing to have these elaborate, expensive ceremonies where the cost gets put onto your guests and your wedding party, and yet also keep traditions from when weddings were between 2 teenagers in their hometown. Like, the whole concept of a registry was created for 2 people moving from their parents' home to the first home they ever shared, where they, didn't even have plates. And now wedding registries are for 2 30-year-olds choosing to have a 5-star resort wedding in Mexico to be able to add to their Le Creuset collection.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing now, is just asking for stuff that I don't think anybody needs to have. It's like it used to be people asking for nice things, but, basic, right? That's what it should be. Like nice, quality, but basic, not designer. And they're asking people who are like, we live next door to you. We're living in a small town next to you. Like, why are you expecting, I don't even own a Le Creuset. Why do you want me to buy you one? It's nuts.
I'm sorry, but if people are spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars and precious vacation days to attend your wedding, that's the gift. People have budgets and other weddings to attend and maybe eventually their own to throw. And if you're putting yourself in a position financially where you need to recoup the money from your guests that you chose to invest in your own wedding, that's a you problem. And even for bridal parties, if you're going to make your friend buy a $200 dress she's never going to wear again, you better not also expect a present. I just think we've created a culture where people feel totally entitled to making their special day a financial burden for everyone who cares about them.
She's preaching to the choir, and I'm listening. There's not a single thing I disagree with here. The other thing I want to say, though, is that I want to direct my anger at the wedding industry. I don't want to direct it at the brides or, people hosting the weddings. Because, at the end of the day, people are probably having a wedding for the right reason, right? They want to bring people together. They want their friends and family to be there. They want to have a good time. They don't have to be throwing the wedding, but they are, and they're choosing to invite you. That's a good thing, right? But I do think the wedding industry is causing mass chaos, right? And it's causing all of us to feel obligated to go beyond our means. So we have to fight against it.
But I feel like the entitlement of wedding culture is just completely out of control.
Just don't go. Am I crazy? It doesn't have to be complicated. If you get invited to a wedding and you cannot afford to go, or it would be a huge inconvenience to go, just RSVP no. You don't have to go just because you were invited.
Yeah, this is kind of something I don't agree with at all. I think that this is the sort of passive-aggressive response that is unnecessary. I don't think that this is productive, particularly to this conversation of, hey, weddings are getting very expensive, and I don't feel like it's reasonable to be asking me these things. And instead the response is, well, then just don't go. I don't think that that's productive, personally. That's the kind of feedback that people should be considering. It's not easy to say those things, especially in today's day and age, to your friends, to your family. It's not easy to say these things. It's not easy to have these conversations. They're sort of uncomfortable because it does hit so close to home for people, and weddings are so deeply personal. So I don't think the correct response is just don't go. And if you can't afford it, just don't go. It's no, why is this not affordable? And why do I feel this pressure that I have to now miss something that I would like to go to? I want to support you, but I can't because I can't afford it. Are we really placing ourselves above people who can't afford to go to a wedding? That's not right. And I also think it's missing the entire spirit of a wedding, which is you're bringing people together. People are treating it like a business thing of like, I'm trying to recoup money and, you know, we got to repay for our plate. And it's a whole mess, man.
I understand weddings are expensive and American weddings are not what they used to be, whereas they used to be these kind of like one-day local events. Now they're like multi-day. They can even go international. You're like crossing state lines, country lines. Like, I get it. It's complicated. But it is optional. Every single thing about a wedding is optional. Going is optional, and the gift is also optional. I just think it's so weird that there have been so many videos lately of people flaming couples for having the kinds of weddings that they want. Like, international weddings are selfish, and bachelorette parties that are multiple days are selfish. Everything is selfish, selfish, selfish. Like, yeah, it's your wedding. You're kind of supposed to be selfish.
I don't agree with one single take from here. And, you know, I think that she's like, well, I understand that weddings are expensive, but no, you don't then. You don't understand how expensive they are for other people, and you don't understand the experiences that other people are living. When a single 20-something is asked to spend $2,500 to simply be in a wedding that's not even theirs, okay, that's too much. And it's not just as simple as saying, no, I'm not gonna go. Okay, a lot of time it's you're saying no to your friends, your family, your best friend. You can't just simply say no or not go. It's not that easy. And you know, this whole idea of you're supposed to be the selfish bride and it's my way or the highway. No. I don't really want to live in a society where that's the norm, where you can walk all over everybody because it's your wedding day. No, that's not right. Sorry. You can be selfish to an extent and you can have things that you want for your wedding. And if you want to get those things, that's fine. But the second that it starts to become a problem for other people and those things are maybe putting people into debt and feeling uncomfortable, that's not right. So no, I don't agree with this take at all. And I actually find it to be lacking in major empathy.
Weddings in general, just like, yes, I think they're so overrated.
I feel like it's like the cool girl thing right now on TikTok to just hate on weddings. And I have a message for the haters on weddings. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, maybe you could get a down payment on the house. Yes, maybe you could travel the world instead.
I don't know where this is going because it's not sounding too good right now. Yes, you could get a down payment on a house, or yes, you could travel the world instead. Yeah, that sounds better to me than spending it on a single day, actually. Yeah. To me, the answer is clear, but okay. The cool girl thing to do to hate on weddings, and people are jealous because they're having a wedding that they want to have. What?
But instead, you're spending it on, in my opinion, the ultimate experience. I read a quote about weddings that will literally stick with me forever. It said, the only time you're ever going to have everyone you love the most in one room is either your wedding or your funeral. And sorry, but you're not going to be a fucking funeral. But to me, weddings are an experience. Truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's not just something you're throwing money at to show on Instagram. Like,
I question that for many people, but okay.
Like, in my opinion, it's the least materialistic thing you can do. It's literally all about the experience and the love.
What? Least materialistic thing you could do? Most of the weddings we're seeing these days and the ones that people are talking about are out of control. They're $100,000, okay? People are donating plasma, taking loans out. And to say it's the least materialistic thing you could do, I mean, it's all about capitalism with weddings these days. That's the whole point I'm making here. Capitalism's taking over, okay? We're spending money that we normally wouldn't spend on weddings because society and social media is telling us that that's what we need to do, okay? We're being influenced by the wedding industry. $7,000 for chairs. In what world does that make sense? The whole industry is unregulated and it's all material things that are going to be for one single day.
If it's worth it, the whole big wedding, planning a wedding, all the time, energy, and money that you put into one weekend of your lives, I'm going to confirm to you that it is 1,000% worth it. 1,000% worth it. It was the best weekend of our lives.
So here's the problem, okay? We have no idea what this person's financial situation is, and she might be rolling in the dough, and for her, it might have been 100% worth it. But the problem is that we don't know anyone's financial situation for the most part, right? We have no clue. And what might be expensive and worth it for one person is absolutely not for another person. And it might not be for you, right? But you're taking advice and you're seeing people like this who are like, it's absolutely worth it. Go ahead and rationalize it however you have to rationalize it. Spend the money, do what you have to do. People see this as a sign and they're like, yeah, you're right. This is my sign, I'm gonna do it. And we see stuff on social media and it's not real, right? And we're influenced by people we have no understanding of. Did this person get it all from their parents? Did they inherit this? Did they win the lottery? I don't know. I don't think that it's right to be like, yeah, it was totally worth it, because it's so specific to you and your situation on whether or not it's worth it.
It was worth every dollar. It was worth every hour. It was every single thing that we ever wanted and more. And it was right after the wedding, after all 3 days we had a destination wedding, after all 3 days of events were over, we were going to bed and we looked at each other and we were like, that was the best money we've ever spent. The best money we've ever spent. Hands down. Because at the end of the day, the money will come back. Like, you will go back to work. You will work and you will make more money. And the money will come back. Just remember that I promise you it will be worth every single time you spend putting into it and every single dollar, because you will have something that no one can ever take away from you. And that is the memories of the best weekend of your lives. Ciao.
You have people like this who are rationalizing why it's okay to spend $100,000 on a wedding, doing destination wedding 3 days. We have just no clue what a lot of money even means to her and to these other people that you see online. Social media is just not real. To say the money will come back to you, well, for some people it won't. I'm sorry, but for some people it will not. No, and spending that money, you'll be spending the rest of your life paying it off, actually. This is extremely irresponsible, actually. In fact, if you ask me, to be advising people like this and saying this when you don't know those people at all. So yeah, and here's an example of what I'm talking about. Needed this, getting married tomorrow. Money flows, memories stay. Congrats, and love this mentality. I needed this, validating. I'm in the trenches right now. LOL. She says, I got you. Needed this as I'm getting Venus quotes and having mini vacation panic attacks. Getting married next week. I'm so stressed out. I needed to hear this. It's only worth it if you can realistically afford it. Don't go into debt for your wedding. Many people fall into poverty and money does not come back for everyone. Exactly. So here are some of my final thoughts that I have on this particular topic. I want to once again reiterate my original statement that I said in the beginning. I do not hate weddings, okay? I love a wedding. I do not hate people that have big weddings. I do not hate that people are throwing weddings. I don't want to discourage people from having weddings at all. That is not my intention at all. However, I do hate the wedding industry, and I hate that they prey on people and take advantage of people by pressuring those people to make financial decisions that they would not ordinarily make, because of what society tells them and what social media shows them is the ideal wedding. And they have to have this kind of wedding, or they have to do this, that, and the other thing in order to feel fulfilled. I hope that you can watch this video and feel more comfortable in having a wedding that's not the norm, and letting you know it's okay to have a wedding that's not like the ones that you see online. It's still going to be meaningful. It will still mean just as much, and sometimes it actually might even mean more to have a more intimate ceremony where it's just you and your significant other. And I talk about de-influencing you from big weddings, and at the beginning I talked about, on a fundamental level, I just don't understand big weddings, and that was not what I chose for myself. You guys, I chose, if you're curious, I literally got married in my apartment. I don't even live there anymore. I can never go back there. It doesn't matter. It just didn't matter to me. It was free. So basically, the venue was free. For florals, I got Baby's Breath. My bouquet was from Jewel Osco. My dress was less than $200. It was actually a bridesmaid's dress from online. No alterations, nothing. I did my own hair and makeup. My father-in-law was our officiant for a wedding. My husband's tux was Macy's going out of business sale. His ring was Macy's going out of business sale. My ring I wear is $60 on Amazon, and it's fake. My actual wedding ring is $10, and we took pictures on our phones. But does it mean less? No. It doesn't have to cost a lot if you don't want it to. And I'm not saying that my wedding was any better. Some people, that sounds like their nightmare. Okay, what I did for my wedding, that sounds like their nightmare. And they would never want to do that. And that's totally fine. But I do think that people need to understand that there are weddings out there like that, and they're just as great, but you're probably not seeing them on social media that much. My original statement stands, which is the wedding industry is out of control. The train is off the track and it's speeding down the hill. I feel like it's important to have these types of hopefully meaningful and intelligent conversations about it, because it's real and it's affecting all of us, right? Whether you're getting married or you're attending these weddings touch all of our lives. right? It's one of the most important moments in someone's life. I think the second that it starts to feel like uncomfortable and an obligation is the moment we need to like pull things back and like come back down to earth. So anyway, that's how I feel. I'm looking forward to seeing some of your comments down below on this topic. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you guys in my next video.